Dear students, I welcome you back on behalf of Thakur Vidya Mandir High School and Junior College for the remote online teaching learning process, where our motto is let learning be a joy and teaching our pleasure. Let us begin with part 3 of chapter 2, that is sources of corporate finance, wherein today we are going to understand the meaning and features of preference shares. Dear students, let us move towards the third question, which is what are preference shares, and state its features. Firstly, let us understand the meaning of preference shares. Preference shares are those shares which enjoy preferential rights in terms of payment of dividend before any dividend is paid to the equity shareholders. Not only that, they also enjoy repayment of capital at the time of winding up of the company before any amount of capital is paid to the equity shareholders. It is because of these two preferential rights enjoyed by the preference shareholders that they are called as preference shares. Preference shareholders are not the real owners of the company, and as such they do not enjoy any voting rights. However, they can vote only on those matters which affect their interest. For example, if they want to bring about any changes in the right of the preference shareholders, in that case they can definitely call up for a meeting and there they can exercise their voting rights. Further, they are not the real owners. However, they are the co-owners in a joint stock company, and as they are co-owners, they cannot be the controllers like the equity shareholders. So equity shareholders are the real controllers in a joint stock company. They control the management of the company. So preference shareholders do not have any right to control the management of the company. Preference shareholders are considered to be cautious investors because they do not take any risk while investing in preference shares. Preference shares are considered to be safe capital, and that is why all those investors who are interested in investing in shares but they want to play safe, in that case such investors do invest in preference shares. Let us now move towards the features of preference shares. The first feature is preference for dividend. The term preference for dividend means preference shareholders enjoy the right to receive the dividend first before any dividend is paid to the equity shareholders, which means that whenever there is distributable annual net profit, at that time they are the first one to claim on the dividend. So they are paid the dividend before any dividend is paid to the equity shareholders. The second feature is preference for repayment of capital. Preference shareholders also enjoy the right of return of capital at the time of winding up of the company before any capital is paid back to the equity shareholders. It thus saves them from capital losses, which means that equity shareholders have to face even capital losses at that time. At the time of winding up, preference shareholders do get their capital back, but it is not at all a guarantee that the equity shareholders will be getting their capital amount back. Let us now move towards the third feature, which is fixed return. Preference shareholders enjoy dividend at a fixed rate, and this fixed rate is predetermined at the time of issue of preference shares. The dividend is paid to the preference shareholders only out of the profits, which means that if the company enjoys profits, company gets profits, in that case they will be receiving the dividend at fixed rate. However, suppose if the company incurs losses and enters into financial crisis, then in that case the directors may decide not to pay dividend. So at that time the preference shareholders do not have any claim for the dividend. Let us now move towards the fourth feature, which is nature of capital. Equity share capital is considered to be permanent capital because the amount remains with the company till the lifetime of the company. It is returned only at the time of winding up of the company. However, when we speak about preference shares, they do not provide permanent capital. This capital amount has to be returned or redeemed after a certain period of time. A company cannot issue irredeemable preference shares. Therefore, the capital which is provided by the preference shareholders is considered to be a temporary capital. Further, preference share capital is raised only at a later stage and not at the initial stage. When a company is well established at that time, if it goes for expansion or growth activities, at that time it may decide to raise the preference share capital. This capital is also considered to be a safe capital as the dividend rate as well as the market value does not fluctuate like that of equity shares capital. Let us now move towards the fifth feature, which is market value. Market value is that value which is determined by the demand and supply forces of the shares in a share market. The market value of preference shares does not change like that of equity shares. The equity shares value keeps on changing depending upon the demand and the supply forces. So, preference shareholders enjoy low capital appreciation, which means that their capital does not keep on appreciating like that of the equity share capital. The sixth feature is voting rights. Preference shareholders are not the real owners of the company, and that is why they do not enjoy normal voting rights like that of equity shareholders, and thus the preference shareholders cannot control the affairs of the company. So it is only equity shareholders who enjoy the normal voting rights, and thereby they have a complete control on the affairs of the management of company. However, preference shareholders can vote on those matters which affect their interest. For example, if the dividend payable to them are in arrears for last 2 consecutive years, in that case they call up a meeting and they vote on those matters. The seventh feature of preference shares is risk. Equity share capital is considered to be risky because they do not have any guarantee when it comes to payment of dividend as well as repayment of capital at the time of winding up of company. However, preference shareholders are considered to be cautious investors because they invest thinking of steady return on their investment as well as a guarantee about the repayment of capital. So preference share capital is not at all risky when compared to the equity share capital. They are considered to be safe capital basically because they have a priority when it comes to dividend payment as well as repayment of capital at the time of winding up of company. The next feature is face value. Face value is that value which is mentioned on the face of the share certificate as well as specified in the memorandum of association. The face value of preference shares is higher when compared to equity shares. It is normally issued at rupees 100. So when compared to equity shares, the face value of preference shares is comparatively higher. The next feature is rights or bonus issue. Equity shareholders do enjoy the benefit of rights issue as well as bonus issue. However, when it comes to the preference shareholders, they do not have the benefit of rights issue as well as bonus issue. What is rights issue and what is bonus issue? Rights issue means whenever the company makes a new issue in the market, at that time firstly the shares are offered to the existing equity shareholders. This benefit is not enjoyed by the preference shareholders. Bonus issue refers to the shares which are given by the company to its existing equity shareholders free of cost. Again, preference shareholders, as they are not the real owners of the company, they do not enjoy the benefit of bonus issue. Let us move towards the last feature of preference shares, that is nature of investors. Preference shareholders are considered to be moderate type of investors, which means they are not adventurous investors like that of equity shareholders. They are very much conservative and cautious because they prefer safety first. Further, they are interested in the safety of their capital, which means that they do want their capital back. They want a guarantee that our capital will be returned at the time of winding up of the company. Further, they also want a steady return on investment, and that is why they prefer preference shares when compared to equity shares. So dear students, with this we have completed the 10 features of preference shares. Thank you, dear children, for your patience listening.